Hi, my name's Martin. I'm from Reversing Cameras UK, otherwise known as RevCam UK. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the MON509D today. So I'll just do a quick unboxing. So let's take some of the packaging out. So we've got the monitor. Now the monitor is a 7-inch LCD display. It's got the protective cover at the moment, so you would remove that if you were installing. So you'll notice that it's got the rear central bracket, so you can install any of our selection of brackets. The bracket that comes in the box will be our quick release bracket, which is one of my favourite brackets. So this one, you got the left sort of wheel for tightening. You've got a release thumb switch or finger switch, whichever, whatever you use. Now this little square washer will actually end up in the back, in that rear channel on the back there. I will pop that on in a few seconds for you, but essentially what it does is once it's on the back, it goes down and it is locked really tight. There's no movement once it's in. Now you can sort of move it. Better release it first. So you can do it left to right if you've got the thumb screw released. Then you just tighten it to your required adjustment. You obviously can sort of tilt it back and forth, get the angle that you want, and there's obviously a self-adhesive pad, so you just peel that off and make sure it's a nice clean dashboard. If you've been polishing it for years, it might be worth giving it a good clean to get those oils off. There are also holes should you wish to add bolts or screws or any other fixings to give it that extra rigidity, but we find most people find this is more than enough. Gets a really good stick. So we've got, let's go on to, we've got a little sort of remote control. So that's obviously can be used if you don't want to use the buttons, or if you're a bit far from it at the time. And then you've got your wiring. So this is the wiring harness. So this bit plugs in to the disconnect points. Obviously you could remove this monitor if you ever wanted to. So this comes down, and this is actually a filter, an electrical filter, and a power supply regulator. So this can have 12 volts or 24 volts. It'll always regulate 12 volts to the monitor and 12 volts back to the two cameras, or one camera, depending on how many you have. So this is a 4-pin screw aviation male connectors. So these, you could have a rear view camera plus a reversing camera, or any type of combination that you wanted. And then this then comes along and goes to a DC socket. Now in the box you do get a little DC to red and black wire. As you'd expect, red is a positive, black is an earth, so it follows convention. So I'll just quickly pop these bits all together so you can see it all laid out. So that's the wiring all laid out. So you can see the little power supply. So you then have your cable going back to your cameras, and the monitor, or the box for the monitor, will be powering those cameras. So you've not got to find extra power supplies for your cameras. The job's already done. Now when ordering, you can select a number of power options. If you wanted a really easy install, you could use our lighter plug. So these don't come as standard, so they would have to be ordered. So this is a CAB005. So you just pop that into your lighter plug and that powers up the complete kit. Another popular one are fuse taps. So We have various fuse taps. You can order those as well whilst you're sort of going through the ordering process. They're 2 meters long. At one end it plugs in to that DC socket. At the other end you've got an earth terminal, so you just find a chassis screw or bolt and attach that. And then on the other side they're basically called piggyback fuse holders, but you essentially you find a fuse that comes on and off with the ignition, and then you pop it into that little spare port you see. This has got a 3 amp fuse built in, which then runs down the red wire, and it all powers up the entire system. And you're basically getting hard wire without really having to sort of do any soldering or crimping. They're very, very popular. Almost every kit ends up getting sold with one of these. The option, if you are in the agricultural industry, is our D-plugs. Now, our D-plugs, people are always shocked because most D-plugs are really badly done, but we really have a good cable manufacturer that we 100% trust. They're basically made these so durable, people actually phone up and say, oh, I've never seen anything like it for a D-plug. How did you do it? That's obviously their secret. We've been using them for many, many years. Really good. You've obviously got various bracket options. You've got the butterfly bracket. These are obviously, again, optional extras. You've got the heavy duty U bracket. So this is on a U joint. So it sort of spins all around. So this is the ACC 705B. You got the ceiling mount. So if you wanted it up on the ceiling, again, it's got a ball joint that you can sort of move it all around and get the perfect angle. You've got the suction mount, ideal for temporary mounting, really solid, and has that same style of ball joint that just holds it rock solid. Obviously suction mounts aren't designed for permanent installs, but they are very good if you just wanted a temporary mounting. I use these all the time when I'm road testing. You can temporarily mount a monitor whilst you're driving around with tests that you're stocking in real world conditions in the UK. This one, you've got an attachment that goes onto the back of a monitor still. You can have a plate that you glue up to your windscreen, or we've got some adapters that will fit the monitor directly onto the windscreen itself. So that's the ACC MB99. So that's another cool little sort of bracket. So what I'll do is, if I did tell you I'd attach this bracket on, so I will do a time lapse of it because it's probably a little bit boring to watch me in real time. So I'll go and grab a screwdriver, and then we'll get to attaching this standard bracket. Right, so before I do the time lapse, I'll just show you that you have to loosen this up slightly, get it to a good spacing on the back. Well, I didn't end up doing a time lapse because it wasn't that hard, it wasn't that long. Right, so that's obviously wedged in nice and firmly. So if ever you wanted to take the monitor off, you'd obviously end up sliding it off. You'll notice that it's that will just fix on the back there. And when you want to put it back on, you just locate it to the rear and click. It just clicks in. Nice and easy. So what I'll do is I'll load up that power supply. So you'll notice I powered it up. I've taken the screen protector off. You'll see I've got two of our Cam 22s staring at a lovely Minions poster. You'll see there's a really nice sort of bright, vivid colours coming from it because this has got a high resolution digital panel. Digital panels being especially if you get a quality one. You can get cheap, nasty digital panels. This one's a quality digital panel. You get a really nice, bright, clear, colourful image. I'll take you through some of the menu settings. It's obviously, and the controls, obviously. So the power or standby icon will obviously power on and off. You've got the V1, V2 that switches between the two channels. So they look very similar because they're looking at the same thing. But that does change channels. You've got your menu button and your plus and minus to make the adjustments. So menu, the first one is brightness. So you can obviously turn it up and down. I had it on number 20, which obviously is the midpoint. We find most of the time the midpoint is the best point. You've got contrast and color. You've got your volume. Obviously, if you had a camera, or most of our cameras don't have, but if you had a camera with a microphone, that would obviously apply. You've got your zoom, which is just a 4:3 or 16:9 aspect ratio. Most people have it on a 16:9 because it utilizes the entire panel. You've got T-Con, where it's a little bit hard to read when you've got red text. There you go. We'll go back there. So T-Con is basically a rotation setting. So if you're knocking it about, it'll literally go upside down, all around. Useful to some people. Most people don't require that. ACC time, again, most people don't really need it, but if you had it on, let's say, 2 seconds, it'll basically, if you had the reverse trigger wire, that would stay on for 2 seconds after it lost the power to reverse light signal wire. Language, it's probably best to leave that alone, unless you speak loads of different languages. You can basically, sometimes people will sort of phone up and say, oh, I've got these funny texts. It's normally after the grandkids have been playing with buttons. If you ever get stuck, just press the menu button 8 times and then the plus or minus until you see the language that you understand. Obviously, that's just the AV1, AV2. So AV1 obviously being channel 1, AV2 is the one that actually is linked to reverse light trigger. So if you did want to have one automatically come on when you select reverse, I would recommend putting it into channel 2. So we'll go to it's hard to read it again. There you go, reset. So you've got reset. That will just reset all your brightness settings. So if you pressed a plus or minus, I think it was, I always go past it. So reset plus, and then it should have reset. Not that I made any changes, I kept everything the same. So as long as you haven't got a minion blocking, make it all camouflaged in with the red menu text, it should be quite easy to operate. It's quite a simple menu system. I'll take you through to the wiring. So obviously, as we discussed earlier, it's got that disconnect points, which is a screw type connection that goes into that filter and power box. The filter and power box has a wire running down to a black earth and a red positive. The positive can be either 12 volts or 24 volts. This is, I'll quickly show you this. I mentioned it earlier about the reverse trigger wire. But if we turn this off, I'll just find my spare little power lead. And if I apply power to this, you'll notice it comes on. When I remove it, it will go off. I think I had it set to 2 seconds, I'm not sure. But yeah, obviously, if it was on, let me just check. But if it was on, if you're on channel 1, it will switch to channel 2. Yeah, I've had it on number 2 seconds. Obviously, if you have that on 0, the second that you come out of reverse, I'll just put it into reverse first, simulation. And the second you take it off, it will go back. If I turn it on, and if I've got it on channel 1, let's say I've got a rear view camera and it's on channel 1, if I apply the reverse lights feed, it will switch over. When I come back out of reverse, it will go back to channel 1. So it's very useful, especially if you've got two cameras. It's a lovely monitor. Obviously comes with all the support you'd expect from Reversing Cameras UK. Obviously comes with a 2-year guarantee. So we always try and keep these going, and we always try and keep you supported for life. So we've got spares. So if you ever move vehicle and you want to take this monitor with you, just ring us up, and normally we've got new wiring harnesses to supply you.